She walked into that wine tasting thinking she was just signing paperwork. Instead, the mistress shoved her into a marble counter so hard that wine exploded across her pregnant belly like blood. The room froze. No one helped. No one moved. And then, from the shadows, a man in black appeared. Someone who had been watching the whole time. Someone who saw what everyone else pretended not to see. What happens next will make your blood boil and your heart race. Because this was not just a shove. This was not just an affair. This was a calculated plan that involved disabled security cameras, a $2 million life insurance policy, and a pattern of violence that had destroyed women for 7 years. 3 pregnant victims, 1 predator, and a truth so dark that when it finally came to light, arrests were made, lives were shattered, and justice was served in ways no one saw coming. But here is what will shock you most. The mistress was not done. She had one more lie up her sleeve, one more twist that would split public opinion and nearly destroy everything. So before we dive in, do me a favor. If you have ever felt invisible in your own life, if you have ever ignored red flags because you wanted to believe in someone, drop a comment below telling me where you are watching from. And if this story moves you, if it makes you think, if it reminds you that truth always finds a way to surface, hit that like button and subscribe. Because stories like this, stories about women who refuse to stay silent, need to be heard. Now let me tell you how one pregnant woman turned her worst nightmare into the fight of her life. The security camera footage would later show everything in brutal clarity. A pregnant woman in a blue dress, a woman in red, the shove, the shattering glass, the wine exploding across a swollen belly like blood. But before the footage, before the viral video, before the world knew her name, Ava Miller stood in her kitchen staring at a text message that would change everything. The message was from her husband, Ethan. It read, "Emergency. Need you at Thornhill Vineyard wine tasting tonight. 7 p.m. Insurance papers for the house renovation. Critical you sign today." Ava pressed her hand against her belly. At 6 months pregnant, she had learned to move carefully. To protect the life growing inside her, her baby boy kicked softly as if sensing her hesitation. Her best friend Madison leaned against the counter, watching her with narrowed eyes. Madison was the type of friend who showed up uninvited with coffee and brutal honesty. Right now, her face said she smelled something rotten. "Girl, that sounds sketchy as hell," Madison said, setting down her mug with a sharp click. "Insurance papers? At a wine tasting? On a Thursday night? Why can't he just bring them home?" Ava wanted to defend Ethan. She wanted to say her husband of 4 years was just busy, just stressed with work. But the truth sat heavy in her chest. Ethan had been distant for months. He worked late 4 or 5 nights every week. His phone stayed face down on every surface. When she had shown him the ultrasound photos last month, he had barely glanced at them before returning to his laptop. "It is just paperwork," Ava said quietly. What could happen? Madison muttered something that sounded like famous last words, but she did not push further. She simply hugged Ava tight and made her promise to text when she got there. Thornhill Vineyard sat nestled in the golden hills of Napa Valley, 40 minutes north of their San Francisco apartment. Ava drove with both hands gripping the wheel, trying to ignore the knot of anxiety in her stomach. The baby kicked again, stronger this time. "I know," she whispered. "I feel it too." The vineyard's tasting hall glowed with warm light when she arrived. Through the tall windows, she could see well-dressed guests swirling wine in crystal glasses. Everything looked elegant and safe. She told herself she was being paranoid. Inside, the air carried the rich scent of oak barrels and blackberry notes. Guests laughed beside polished marble counters. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers. A few people glanced at her belly and smiled the way strangers do when they see a pregnant woman. Ava scanned the room for Ethan. He was nowhere visible. Then she saw Harper Vale. Harper stood near the center of the room wearing a red dress that clung to her like a second skin. Her dark hair fell in perfect waves. Her smile was bright and sharp, like a knife catching light. She had been Ethan's business consultant for 8 months. The consultant who always seemed to be at his office during those late nights. The consultant whose name made Ethan's voice change, just slightly, whenever Ava asked about work. Harper noticed Ava and her smile widened. She walked over with the easy confidence of someone who owned every room she entered. "Ava, Harper said warmly, as though they were old friends. You made it. So brave of you to still go out in public in your condition. The words landed like a slap disguised as concern. Ava felt heat rise in her cheeks. I am looking for Ethan, Ava said, keeping her voice steady. He said he needed me here. Oh, Ethan is around, Harper replied, waving a hand vaguely. But we should talk first. There are some things you need to understand. Warning bells rang in Ava's mind. She took a small step backward, but Harper moved closer, too close. The scent of expensive perfume pushed into the space between them. Harper, I really just need to find my husband. Harper's smile turned cruel. Your husband, right. The one who talks about you and all the time. Mostly about how exhausted he is, how trapped he feels, how much he wishes things were different. Each word hit like a small explosion in Ava's chest. She wanted to respond, to defend herself, but her throat had closed around the hurt. You should know the truth, Harper continued, her voice dropping lower but somehow sharper. Ethan does not want this baby. He does not want you. He has not wanted you for a very long time. Tears burned at the corners of Ava's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of this woman who radiated satisfaction at every crack in Ava's composure. I do not believe you, Ava whispered. Harper laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You do not have to believe me. The truth does not need your permission. Then Harper moved. Her hand struck Ava's shoulders with shocking force. The shove came before Ava could brace herself, before she could protect her belly, before she could even scream. Ava stumbled backward. Her heels scraped against the polished floor. Her hip collided hard with the edge of the marble tasting counter. Pain exploded through her side. A cluster of wine glasses toppled and shattered against the floor. Red wine erupted outward, splashing across her dress, soaking into the pale blue fabric, spreading across her pregnant belly like a dark stain. Gasps filled the room. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Someone dropped a glass. The jazz music suddenly seemed too loud, too cheerful for what had just happened. Ava clung to the counter with trembling hands. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. She pressed her free hand over her belly, terrified of what the impact might have done. The baby moved beneath her palm, a flutter, then nothing. She looked up at Harper through tears. Why? Ava's voice came out small and broken. Why would you do that? Harper crossed her arms, her expression shifting from fake concern to open contempt. Because you have been living in a fantasy, Ava. Showing up here like this only proves how pathetic you are, how completely out of place. Around them, guests stood frozen. A few whispered to each other. One woman covered her mouth. A man in a gray suit pulled out his phone, but no one stepped forward. No one offered to help. They all just soared, caught between shock and the fear of getting involved. Ava pushed herself upright, fighting against the sharp ache radiating from her hip. Wine dripped from her dress. Broken glass crunched beneath her shoes. Her entire body trembled. She pushed me, Ava said to the room, to anyone who would listen. She pushed me, and I am pregnant. Someone saw. Someone must have seen. Harper's smile never wavered. I tried to steady you when you stumbled. Everyone saw that. Maybe you should be more careful in your condition. The cruelty of it, the calculated malice, crashed over Ava like a wave. She had suspected Ethan of drifting away, maybe even having an affair. But this was something darker. This was planned. This was meant to hurt her. The baby moved again, just a small flutter. Relief flooded through Ava so intensely her knees almost buckled. Harper leaned in one more time, her voice barely a whisper. This is only the beginning. Ava opened her mouth to respond, but footsteps echoed from the hallway behind her. Heavy, purposeful. She turned, expecting Ethan, hoping for someone who would finally help. What she got instead would prove to be something far more complicated. Ethan Miller appeared at the end of the hallway wearing his navy suit, the one he saved for important meetings. His tie was slightly loosened. His expression held no warmth, no concern, only irritation. His eyes swept over Ava's wine-stained dress, the broken glass scattered around her feet, the way she clutched her belly protectively. For one hopeful second, Ava thought she saw something flicker in his face. Worry, maybe. Guilt. But then his jaw tightened. Ava, he said flatly. Just her name. Nothing more. Ethan. Her voice cracked. Harper pushed me. I fell against the counter. The baby, I do not know if the baby is okay. Ethan walked closer but did not reach for her. He glanced at Harper, who had arranged her features into a mask of concern. She stumbled, Harper said softly. I tried to catch her, but she fell anyway. It happened so fast. That is a lie, Ava said, her voice rising. She shoved me, hard. People saw it. Ethan looked around the tasting hall. The guests had started to disperse, uncomfortable with the drama. Some moved toward the exits. Others huddled in corners, whispering. Ava, you are being dramatic, Ethan said, his tone sharp with impatience. Harper said you tripped. Why would she push you? The words hit harder than Harper's shove. This was her husband, the man who had promised to love her, to protect her, and he was choosing to believe the other woman. I'm not being dramatic, Ava whispered. I'm hurt. Our baby could be hurt. Ethan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a slim manila folder. He held it toward her. Sign these, he said. Ava stared at the folder. What is that? Divorce papers. He said it like he was discussing the weather. Casual. Final. It is time we stop pretending this marriage works. The tasting hall seemed to tilt around her. Ava grabbed the counter again to steady herself. Divorce papers? You brought me here to serve me divorce papers? I brought you here so you could sign them quickly without making a scene at home, Ethan replied, but you managed to make a scene anyway. Tears spilled down Ava's cheeks. She could not stop them anymore. Ethan, I am 6 months pregnant with your child. I know, and I will provide financial support, but I will not be trapped in a marriage that makes me miserable. Trapped, she repeated. The word felt like poison in her mouth. Harper watched from a few feet away, arms crossed, satisfaction glowing in her eyes. Ava looked between them, truly seeing the situation for the first time. This had been planned. The location, the timing, Harper's presence, everything designed to humiliate her, and to break her down until she would sign anything just to escape. How long? Ava asked, her voice barely audible. How long have you two been together? That does not matter, Ethan said. What matters is you sign these papers. No. The word came out stronger than Ava expected. Ethan's expression darkened. Ava, do not make this harder than it needs to be. You had her push me, Ava said, the realization crystallizing into certainty. You wanted me to fall. You wanted something to happen to me, to the baby. You are being paranoid. Am I? Ava looked around the tasting hall with new eyes. Where are the security cameras? Why is no one from the staff here helping me? You planned this. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Sign the papers or things will get much worse for you. Before Ava could respond, a new voice cut through the tension. I think you should step back from her. Everyone turned. A man stood near the service hallway, partially hidden in shadow. He wore black jeans, a black button-down shirt, and a black jacket. His dark hair was touched with gray at the temples. His face was weathered but kind, with sharp blue eyes that assessed the situation in seconds. He walked forward into the light, and Ava's breath caught. Uncle Daniel? Daniel Reeves had been absent from family gatherings for 7 years. He had left California after a messy falling out with Ava's mother over something nobody ever explained clearly. Ava had only been 21 when he disappeared. She remembered him as quiet, observant, always watching people with those calculating eyes. Ava, Daniel said, his gaze sweeping over her ruined dress and trembling hands. Are you hurt? I do not know, she admitted. I hit the counter. The baby moved, but I am scared. Daniel nodded once, then turned his attention to Ethan. Who are you? Her husband, and you need to leave. This is a private family matter. I am family, Daniel said calmly, Ava's uncle, which makes this my business. Ethan's jaw clenched. I do not care who you are. Get out. Daniel ignored him and looked at Harper. You pushed her. Harper laughed nervously. I did no such thing. She fell. No, Daniel said. You pushed her. I saw the whole thing. I was standing by the storage room entrance. He pointed toward a doorway partially hidden by decorative wine barrels. Clear line of sight. Aviva felt a surge of hope. You saw it? You saw Harper push me? Yes. Ethan stepped forward aggressively. You are lying to cause trouble. Daniel did not move, did not even blink. Am I? Then why were the security cameras in this room disabled 30 minutes before Ava arrived? The question hung in the air like a grenade. Ethan's face paled slightly. What are you talking about? The cameras, Daniel repeated. They were turned off. I noticed when I walked through earlier. Odd choice for a public event, unless someone wanted no record of what happened here. Harper's confident smile wavered. Ethan's hands curled into fists. You do not know what you are talking about, Ethan said. Maybe not, Daniel replied, but I know assault when I see it, and I know a woman who needs medical attention. He turned to Ava. Come with me. I will take you to the hospital. She is not going anywhere, Ethan said. Daniel's expression hardened. Watch me stop her. The two men faced each other, tension crackling between them. Ava looked at her uncle, this man she barely knew, who had appeared like an answer to a prayer she had not known how to say. Ava, Daniel said without taking his eyes off Ethan, do you want to leave with me? She looked at her husband, the man who had handed her divorce papers while she bled wine in fear, the man who stood beside his mistress and called his pregnant wife a liar. Yes, Ava said. I want to leave. Daniel extended his hand. Ava took it. His grip was steady and warm. As they walked toward the exit, Ethan called after them. This is not over, Ava. You still have to sign those papers. Ava did not look back. Outside, the evening air was cool and clean. Ava drew in deep breaths, trying to calm the panic still coursing through her body. Thank you, she whispered. Daniel opened the passenger door of a black truck. Thank me when you and the baby are safe. Right now, we need to get you checked out. As Ava settled into the seat, she glanced back at the vineyard. Through the windows, she could see Ethan and Harper standing close together, talking rapidly. Planning their next move, she pressed both hands over her belly. I am so sorry, little one, she whispered. I am so sorry I brought you into this. Daniel started the engine. It is not your fault, Ava. None of this is your fault. But as they drove away from Thornhill Vineyard, neither of them knew that someone in that crowd had pulled out their phone and recorded everything. The shove, the fall, the wine exploding across a pregnant woman's belly, and that video was about to change everything. The emergency room doctor pressed a handheld monitor against Ava's belly, moving it slowly while watching a screen. Ava held her breath. Beside her, Daniel stood with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. There, the doctor said, turning the screen toward them. That is your baby's heartbeat. The sound filled the small examination room, fast and strong, steady, alive. Ava burst into tears, not from sadness this time, but relief so overwhelming it felt like her chest might crack open. The baby is okay? She asked, her voice shaking. The baby appears fine, the doctor confirmed. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and efficient hands. No signs of distress. Your fall was serious, but thankfully the impact was to your hip and side, not your abdomen. The amniotic fluid protected your baby well. Ava pressed both hands over her face, unable to stop crying. Daniel placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. However, the doctor continued, her tone turning serious, you do have significant bruising on your hip and lower back. I want you on bed rest for at least 3 days. No stress, no heavy lifting, and if you experience any cramping, bleeding, or decrease in fetal movement, you come back immediately. Understood? Ava nodded. Yes, thank you. After the doctor left, Daniel pulled a chair close to the examination table. Ava, I need to ask you some hard questions. Okay. How long has Ethan been seeing Harper? Ava wiped her eyes. I do not know for certain. Maybe 8 months? She started as a consultant at his tech company around then. He started working late, being secretive with his phone. I suspected something, but I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. Did he know you would be at the vineyard tonight? He is the one who told me to come. He texted me this afternoon. Ava pulled out her phone and showed Daniel the message. Daniel read it carefully. He specified the time and location. He made sure you would be there. You think he planned it? The push? I think, Daniel said slowly, that Ethan wanted something to happen to you in a place where there would be no clear evidence. The cameras being off is not a coincidence. A chill ran down Ava's spine. But why? Even if he wants a divorce, why would he want to hurt me? That is what we need to find out. Before Ava could respond, her phone buzzed. Then again, and again. The notifications came so fast they blurred together. She looked at the screen and her stomach dropped. Oh my God. What is it? Daniel asked. Ava turned the phone toward him. Her social media was exploding. Tags, mentions, shares, all linking to the same video. The video of Harper pushing her. Someone had posted it on TikTok an hour ago with the caption, Mistress shoves pregnant wife at wine tasting. The view count was already climbing past 100,000. It is everywhere, Ava whispered, scrolling through the notifications. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. The video had spread across every platform. Comments flooded in by the hundreds. Arrest her. That poor woman. Harper Vale is trash. This made me sick to watch 6 months pregnant. What is wrong with people? Ava's hands shook as she read message after message of support. Strangers were defending her, calling for justice, demanding Harper be held accountable. This is good, Daniel said. Public attention means they cannot sweep this under the rug. But what if they spin it? Ava asked. What if they make me look like the bad guy? They will try, Daniel admitted, but video does not lie. We have evidence now. Ava's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and saw her best friend's name. Madison, Ava answered. Girl, Madison practically shouted. Are you okay? I just saw the video. It is all over my feed. Everyone is losing their minds. Are you safe? Is the baby okay? We are both okay, Ava said, fresh tears welling up at the concern in her friend's voice. I am at the hospital. Uncle Daniel brought me. Daniel? I thought he disappeared years ago. He is back. He saw everything, Madison. He is helping me. Good, because Ethan's about to get dragged so hard online. People are finding his company page, Harper's Instagram. They are tearing them apart in the comments. A small, dark part of Ava felt satisfaction at that. Let them feel what it is like to be humiliated publicly. Let them understand what they did to her. Madison, what do I do now? Now you rest. You take care of that baby. And you let the internet do what the internet does best. Destroy people who deserve it. After they hung up, Daniel helped Ava into a wheelchair for the ride out to his truck. As they moved through the hospital corridors, Ava noticed people staring at their phones, then glancing at her with recognition. One nurse stopped them. Are you the woman from the video? The one who was pushed? Ava hesitated, then nodded. I am so sorry that happened to you, the nurse said. That woman should be arrested. Are you pressing charges? I do not know yet, Ava admitted. You should. What she did was assault. Daniel guided them away gently. One step at a time, he murmured to Ava. By the time they reached Daniel's truck, Ava's phone showed 2 million views on the original video. The hashtag Justice for Ava was trending nationwide. This is insane, Ava whispered as Daniel drove through the dark streets. Yesterday I was nobody. Now millions of people know my name. Viral moments have power, Daniel said. Use it wisely. They drove to Madison's apartment in silence. Madison was waiting on the front steps, and she pulled Ava into a fierce hug the moment she saw her. You are staying here tonight, Madison declared. I already made up the guest room. And before you argue, this is not optional. You are not going back to your apartment where Ethan can show up. Ava was too exhausted to argue. She let Madison and Daniel guide her inside, let them settle her on the couch with pillows and blankets. The baby kicked softly, reminding her that despite everything, life continued. Madison made tea while Daniel sat across from Ava with a serious expression. Ava, listen carefully, he said. The video is powerful, but Ethan will not go down without a fight. He has money, connections, lawyers. He will come at you hard. I know. Do you have access to your bank accounts? The question made Ava's blood run cold. We have joint accounts, but yes, I can access them. Check them. Now. Ava pulled out her phone with trembling hands and logged into their banking app. Her heart sank. The savings account is empty. $23,000. It is gone. He moved it, Daniel said grimly. He is cutting off your resources. What about credit cards? Ava checked. Maxed out, but I did not make these charges. He is burying you in debt while taking your money. Classic financial abuse tactic. Madison appeared with the tea, her face twisted in rage. That absolute piece of garbage. Can we report this? Yes, Daniel said, but it will take time to freeze accounts and fight it legally. And Ethan knows that. He is betting that Ava will be so overwhelmed that she will just sign his divorce papers and disappear. Ava set her phone down. What do I do? First, you document everything. Screenshots of the accounts, the charters, all of it. Second, tomorrow we find you a lawyer. A really good one. I cannot afford a lawyer if he took all my money. I can, Daniel said simply. Consider it a loan or a gift. Either way, you are not fighting this alone. Ava looked at her uncle, this man who had been a stranger just hours ago, and felt something crack open in her chest. Why are you helping me? Daniel's expression softened. Because 7 years ago, I walked away from family when things got hard. I have regretted it every day since. When I saw you tonight, saw what was happening, I knew this was my chance to do something right, to be the person I should have been all along. But how did you even end up at that vineyard? Business meeting with a potential client. Pure coincidence. Or fate, depending on what you believe. He leaned forward. The point is, you have someone in your corner now. Use me. Ava nodded, too emotional to speak. Her phone buzzed again. Another flood of notifications. But mixed among the support were other messages. Angry ones. Messages calling her a liar, saying she was trying to destroy a good man's reputation, claiming the video was taken out of context. And then she saw it. A new post from Harper's Instagram account. The post showed Harper with tears streaming down her perfect face. The caption read, I tried to help her when she stumbled the night. I cannot believe she is spreading lies about me. Pregnancy hormones are real. Praying for her and the baby. Sometimes the kindest act is met with cruelty. Truth will prevail. The post already had 50,000 likes. Ava's hands shook as she showed the screen to Daniel and Madison. Madison exploded. Oh, hell no. She did not just play the victim card. She literally pushed you on camera. But as Ava scrolled through the comments, she saw the damage being done. Harper's followers were defending her. Some claimed the video was edited. Others said Ava was clearly unstable and trying to ruin an innocent woman's life. The narrative was splitting, and Ava realized with growing horror that her moment of victory, her evidence, was being twisted before her eyes. Her phone rang, an unknown number. She answered carefully. Mrs. Miller? A professional male voice. This is Richard Hale from Hale & Associates. I represent your husband, Ethan Miller. I am calling to inform you that if you continue to spread defamatory statements about my client and Miss Vale, we will pursue legal action for slander and harassment. We have already filed a motion to have the video removed from social media platforms for violating terms of service. Additionally, Mr. Miller is requesting that you vacate the shared apartment by end of business tomorrow. A formal eviction notice will be delivered in the morning. Do you have any questions? Ava's voice came out as a whisper. You are kicking me out of my own home? The apartment lease is in Mr. Miller's name. He has every legal right to request you leave. I am 6 months pregnant. That is unfortunate, but not relevant to the legal matter at hand. Good evening, Mrs. Miller. The call ended. Ava looked at Daniel and Madison, and for the first time since this nightmare began, she felt truly, completely defeated. The video that was supposed to save her was disappearing. Harper was winning the social media battle, and now Ava was about to lose her home, her money, everything. They are taking down the video, she said numbly, and evicting me. It is over. They are going to win. Madison grabbed her hand. No, we are just getting started. But Ava heard the uncertainty beneath her friend's fierce words. Outside, rain began to fall. Inside, Ava's phone continued buzzing with messages she could not bear to read. And somewhere across the city, Ethan and Harper celebrated their victory, unaware that Daniel Reeves was not the kind of man who gave up easily. The first battle was lost, but the war had only begun. Ava woke the next morning on Madison's couch with every muscle aching. The bruise on her hip had deepened to a dark purple. When she tried to stand, pain shot through her side. Madison appeared with coffee and a grim expression. Do not look at your phone yet. That was never a good sign. Ava grabbed her phone anyway. The original TikTok video had been removed for violating community guidelines. Every repost had been systematically taken down overnight. Ethan's lawyer had worked fast. But worse than the missing video was what had replaced it in the news cycle. Harper had posted a longer statement on Instagram, claiming she was being cyberbullied and harassed by strangers who believed lies from an unstable woman. She had hired a PR team. They had crafted her into a victim, and it was working. Major news outlets were now running stories about cancel culture and online harassment. Harper gave a tearful interview to a local morning show, talking about how frightened she felt, how she was just trying to help a friend's wife, how the cruelty of strangers had forced her into hiding. Not one outlet mentioned that she had shoved a pregnant woman on camera. They scrubbed it, Ava said, her voice hollow. They just erased what actually happened. Madison sat beside him. Not completely. People saw it, millions of people. They remember. But memories fade, videos do not, and now the video is gone. Then we get it back, or we find another way. Before Ava could respond, someone knocked hard on the apartment door. Madison checked the peephole and swore under her breath. Who is it? Ava asked. Sheriff's deputy, with eviction papers, I am guessing. The next hour passed in a blur of legal documents and formal language. The deputy was professional but firm. Ava had 24 hours to remove her belongings from the apartment she had called home for 3 years. Where am I supposed to go? Ava asked. The deputy's expression softened slightly. I am sorry, ma'am. That is not my department. After he left, Ava sat numbly on the couch. Madison paced the room like a caged animal. This is insane. This is actually insane. He cannot just throw you out on the street. Apparently he can, Ava said. The lease is in his name. I never thought to add mine because I trusted him. Stupid. No, not stupid. Trusting. There is a difference. Daniel arrived an hour later with a lawyer in tow. Her name was Marissa Hale, no relation to Ethan's attorney. She was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an even sharper suit. I have reviewed your case, Marissa said, sitting across from Ava with a leather portfolio. I will be direct with you. This is going to be an ugly fight. Your husband has moved aggressively to cut off your resources and control the narrative. The removed video hurts us, but it is not fatal. However, I need to know if you are prepared for what comes next. What comes next? Ava asked. Ethan will try to destroy your credibility. He will paint you as unstable, emotional, vindictive. He will use your pregnancy against you, claim hormones have made you irrational. His lawyer is expensive and ruthless. This will get worse before it gets better. How much worse? Marissa did not sugarcoat it. He will fight you for custody of the baby. He will drag out the divorce to drain any resources you have left. He will make your life hell until you break or give up. That is what men like Ethan Miller do when they fear losing control. Ava pressed both hands over her belly. The baby kicked, oblivious to the war being waged around him. I will not give up my baby. Good, because I do not lose custody cases. Marissa's smile was sharp. But I need you to be smart. No social media posts, no public statements, no contact with Ethan or Harper unless I am present. And most importantly, we need evidence, hard evidence. Video would have been perfect, but now we need something else. Daniel spoke up. The security cameras at the vineyard were disabled. That was not random. Someone used access codes to shut them down. Can you prove it? Marissa asked. I have a colleague who specializes in digital forensics. If we can get access to the vineyard's security system, he can trace who shut them down and when. Do it, Marissa said. If we can prove Ethan intentionally disabled cameras before the assault, it shows premeditation. That changes everything. Over the next 3 days, Ava lived in a fog. She moved her belongings out of the apartment with Madison's help. Ethan did not show his face, but his presence haunted every room. She looked at the nursery they had painted together, at the crib still in its box, and felt something crack inside her chest. Madison drove her to a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with flickering lights and thin walls. It was all Ava could afford now. This is temporary, Madison kept saying, just until we figure things out. But lying in that motel bed at night, listening to traffic and arguments through the walls, Ava wondered if there was any way out of this nightmare. Her phone rang, an unknown number again. Against her better judgment, she answered. Ava? A woman's voice. Young, nervous. Who is this? My name is Claire. I saw your video before it got taken down. I need to tell you something about Harper Vale. Ava sat up, suddenly alert. What about her? 3 years ago, Harper did the same thing to me. She was seeing my husband. She got me alone at a party and pushed me down a flight of stairs. I was pregnant too. I lost the baby. The words hit Ava like a physical blow. Oh my God, did you press charges? I tried, but Harper's family has money. They buried it, made me look crazy, paid off witnesses. My husband divorced me and I got nothing. I have been too scared to speak up until now. But when I saw what she did to you, I knew I had to call. Claire, would you be willing to testify, to tell your story officially? Silence, then. I am scared. So am I, Ava said honestly. But maybe if we are scared together, we can stop her from doing this to anyone else. Let me think about it. I will call you back. The line went dead. Ava immediately called Daniel and told him everything. He listened carefully, then said, if we can find more victims, we can establish a pattern. Harper is not just a mistress. She is a predator. But Claire is scared. She might not call back. Then we find others. Women like Harper leave trails. That night, Ava could not sleep. She lay in the dark, one hand on her belly, and tried not to think about Claire's words. I lost the baby. At 2 in the morning, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. The message contained a single image, a screenshot of a text conversation between Ethan and Harper from 2 weeks earlier. Harper, once she is out of the way, we can finally move forward with everything. Ethan, I know, just a little longer. The insurance policy kicks in next month. Ava's blood ran cold. Insurance policy? She forwarded the screenshot to Daniel immediately, then to Marissa. Within minutes, Daniel called her. Ava, who sent you this? I do not know. Anonymous number. This is explosive. If Ethan took out a policy on you right before the vineyard incident, it suggests he was planning something much worse than divorce. You think he wanted me dead? Daniel's silence was answer enough. Ava's hands shook as she processed the implications. The disabled cameras, Harper's calculated shove near a hard surface, Ethan's complete lack of concern for her well-being. It all clicked into a horrifying picture. I need to find out about this insurance policy, Ava said. No, you need to stay safe while I find out about it. If Ethan realizes you know, you could be in real danger. But danger, Ava was learning, came in many forms. And the worst kind was the danger you did not see coming. The next morning, Ava woke to sharp cramping in her abdomen. Pain radiated through her lower belly in waves. She stumbled to the bathroom and saw blood. Not much, but enough. She called 911 with shaking hands. The ambulance ride blurred together, EMTs asking questions she could barely answer. Madison meeting her at the hospital, face pale with terror. In the emergency room, doctors rushed around her. Monitors beeped. Someone pressed an ultrasound wand against her belly. Please, Ava whispered. Please let my baby be okay. The doctor's face was grave. Mrs. Miller, you are experiencing what we call a threatened miscarriage. The stress on your body has triggered early labor signs. We are going to do everything we can to stop it, but I need you to understand the situation is serious. Ava closed her eyes as tears streamed down her face. This was it, the lowest point. She had lost her home, her money, her safety, and now she might lose her baby. The only innocent person in this entire nightmare. I am sorry, she whispered to her belly. I am so sorry I could not protect you. Hours later, after medication and bed rest and prayers, the cramping finally stopped. The baby's heartbeat remained strong. The doctor said they had stabilized the situation, but Ava needed complete bed rest and zero stress. Zero stress, as if that were possible. Madison wheeled her out of the hospital as evening fell. Daniel was waiting in the parking lot beside a woman Ava did not recognize. Ava, Daniel said gently, this is Claire. She decided to come forward. Claire was small and blonde with sad eyes. She looked at Ava with understanding that only shared trauma could create. "I am sorry about your baby scare," Claire said. "I know how terrifying that is." "You are here," Ava said. "You are actually here. I decided I am done being scared. Harper Vale needs to be stopped." As they stood in that hospital parking lot, three women united by one monster's cruelty, Ava felt something shift inside her. Not hope exactly, but something harder, something that tasted like anger and determination. She had hit rock bottom. There was nowhere left to fall, which meant the only direction left was up. And Ava Miller was done being a victim. Marissa Hale did not waste time. Within 24 hours of Claire coming forward, she had filed new motions, contacted investigators, and scheduled depositions. The lawyer moved through the legal system like a shark through water. Ava sat in Marissa's downtown office, still moving carefully after the hospital scare. Beside her, Claire twisted her hands nervously. Madison stood by the window like a bodyguard. "Here's where we are," Marissa said, spreading documents across her desk. Claire's testimony establishes a pattern of behavior. One incident could be dismissed as a misunderstanding. Two incidents with the same woman targeting pregnant wives. That is a criminal pattern. "But my case was buried," Claire said quietly. "My husband's lawyer made sure nothing stuck." "Your husband did not have me as opposing counsel," Marissa replied with a sharp smile. "And more importantly, he did not have modern social media. The original video may be gone from major platforms, but the internet is forever. Someone out there has copies. We just need to find them." Daniel spoke from his position by the door. "I have been reaching out to digital rights groups and journalists. Several are interested in the story, especially with Claire's corroboration." "Good," Marissa said. "Now let me address the insurance policy." She pulled out a thick file. "I filed a subpoena for all insurance policies in Ethan Miller's name. What we found is disturbing." She slid a document toward Ava. It was a life insurance application dated 3 weeks before the Vineyard incident. The coverage amount made Ava's stomach turn. $2 million. The beneficiary was listed as Ethan Miller, in trust for unborn child. "He took this out without telling you," Marissa said, "which is legal in California for spouses. But the timing is suspicious. Very suspicious." "If I had died during childbirth," Ava said slowly, "he would have gotten $2 million in sole custody of our baby." Exactly. And childbirth complications are not uncommon, especially after trauma. If you had gone into early labor that night at the Vineyard, if something had gone wrong, the implication hung in the air like smoke. Madison broke the silence. "So he tried to kill her for insurance money? Are we seriously saying that?" "I am saying," Marissa replied carefully, "that we have evidence of suspicious financial activity, a history of Harper Vale targeting pregnant women, disabled security cameras, and a violent assault. Whether Ethan intended murder or just wanted to force a dangerous situation, I cannot say, but a jury might draw their own conclusions." "Can we go to the police with this?" Ava asked. We are saying. "Today, I have a meeting with the district attorney in 2 hours. They will review everything and decide if criminal charges are warranted." For the first time in days, Ava felt a flicker of hope. Real hope, not the false kind that got crushed. But then her phone rang, Ethan's lawyer. "Do not answer," Marissa said, but Ava's finger was already moving. She needed to hear what new horror they had planned. "Mrs. Miller," Richard Hale's oily voice filled the line, "I have been authorized to make you a one-time offer. Mr. Miller will give you $50,000 and drop all custody claims if you sign the divorce papers today and agree never to speak publicly about him or Miss Vale again. This offer expires in 6 hours. $50,000, Ava repeated. "He makes $300,000 a year. Take it or leave it, 6 hours. After that, we will crush you in court and you will get nothing." The call ended. "Do not even think about it," Madison said immediately. "I am not," Ava replied. But the offer sat in her mind like poison. $50,000 would let her start over, get an apartment, prepare for the baby. Fighting Ethan could take years and cost everything. As if reading her mind, Marissa said, "He is betting you will take the easy path. He is counting on you being too tired, too scared, too broken to fight. But Ava, if you sign that agreement, he wins everything. You lose your voice, your justice, and your self-respect. Is that worth $50,000? Ava thought about Claire, who had taken the easy path 3 years ago and spent every day since regretting it. She thought about her son, growing inside her, and what kind of woman she wanted him to know his mother was. No, Ava said, it is not worth it. Good, then let me make a counteroffer. Marissa's smile turned predatory. We tell Ethan's lawyer that not only are we not signing anything, we are going public with everything. The insurance policy, Claire's testimony, the disabled cameras, all of it. They will boss come after me harder, Ava said. Yes, they will. This is the part where you decide who you are, the woman who hides or the woman who fights. Ava placed both hands over her belly. The baby kicked, strong and steady. I am the woman who fights. The district attorney meeting went better than expected. The DA, a stern woman named Patricia Chen, reviewed their evidence with sharp attention. This is substantial, she said. The insurance policy timing alone is enough to warrant investigation. Add the security camera tampering and Claire's testimony, and we have grounds for multiple charges. What kind of charges? Daniel asked. Against Harper Vale, assault and battery, possibly attempted assault with intent to harm an unborn child. Against Ethan Miller, conspiracy, insurance fraud, potentially attempted insurance fraud if we can prove intent. These are serious crimes. How long until you can file charges? Marissa asked. I need to review the complete security system data and interview more witnesses. 2 weeks, maybe 3. But I will say this, Mrs. Hale. Your client has built a strong case, stronger than most domestic violence cases I see. As they left the DA's office, Ava felt something she had not felt in weeks. Power, not over Ethan or Harper, but over her own choices. She was no longer just reacting to what they did to her. She was taking action. But that power was about to be tested in ways she could not imagine. That evening, as Ava rested in Madison's apartment, her phone exploded with notifications. Someone had leaked the insurance policy documents to Twitter. Within an hour, Ethan Miller insurance scam was trending. The public outrage was instant and volcanic. News outlets picked up the story. Opinion pieces flooded in. Ethan's tech company released a statement saying he had been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Harper's Instagram, which had been carefully curated with victim imagery, was flooded with comments calling her a murderer. It is working, Madison said, watching the social media storm unfold. They are getting destroyed. But Ava felt uneasy. It is too fast. They will fight back. This kind of attention makes people desperate. She was right. The next morning, Harper posted a new statement. This one was different. This one was a lie so bold it made Ava's blood boil. Harper claimed she was pregnant with Ethan's baby. The post showed what appeared to be an ultrasound photo. Harper wrote about how scared she was, how she had been trying to protect Ava's feelings by staying quiet, how the stress of being attacked online had nearly caused her to miscarry. At least when I have his baby, it will actually be wanted, Harper wrote, echoing the cruel words she had said at the vineyard. The narrative shifted instantly. Suddenly, there were 2 pregnant women, 2 sides to the story. The public attention that had been solely focused on Ava's pain was now split. Worse, some people believed Harper. Some comments said Ava should move on and let Ethan be with the woman he loved. Others claimed both women were victims of the same man. Ava stared at the post with shaking hands. She is lying. She has to be lying. Maybe, Daniel said, or maybe not. Either way, she just divided public opinion. Can we prove it is fake? Madison asked. Marissa considered this. Ultrasound photos are easy to fake or borrow, but if she is lying about being pregnant, that is fraud. And if she is telling the truth, it actually helps us. How? Ava demanded. Because it proves Ethan and Harper were planning a future together while still married to you. It proves motive. It proves the affair was not just physical, but calculated. A jury will hate that. But in the moment sitting in Madison's living room watching Harper play victim again, Ava did not care about jury strategy. She cared that the woman who had pushed her, who had tried to hurt her baby, was now claiming she was carrying Ethan's child. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. I want to respond, Ava said. I want to tell my side. No, Marissa said firmly. That is exactly what they want. The moment you engage publicly, you lose the moral high ground. Stay silent. Let the evidence speak. But staying silent felt like swallowing glass. That night, lying in yet another temporary bed in yet another place that was not home, Ava finally broke. She cried until she could not breathe. She cried for the marriage that had died. She cried for the danger her baby faced. She cried for the woman she used to be, who trusted people and believed in happy endings. Madison found her there and just held her. Did not tell her it would be okay. Did not offer false hope. Just held her while she shattered. "I do not know if I can keep doing this," Ava whispered. "I am so tired." "I know, but you cannot stop now. You are too close." "Close to what? They just keep winning." "No, they keep fighting. That is different. The fact that Harper felt she needed to lie about being pregnant means she is scared. Scared people make mistakes." Ava wanted to believe that, but belief required energy she did not have. The next morning brought another blow. Ethan filed for an emergency custody order, claiming Ava was unstable and presented a danger to their unborn child. He cited her hospital visit, her financial instability, her harassment of Harper. The hearing was scheduled for 3 days away. "He is trying to take my baby before it is even born," Ava said, staring at the legal papers. Marissa was already on her phone, making calls, preparing arguments. "We will fight this. We will win. But Ava, I need you to be strong in that courtroom. Can you do that?" Ava looked at her reflection in Madison's bathroom mirror. She looked exhausted, defeated, 7 months pregnant with bruises that had not fully healed. But beneath the exhaustion, she saw something else, something harder than hope and fiercer than fear. She saw a mother protecting her child. "Yes," Ava said, "I can do that." The custody hearing would decide everything. But before that battle could begin, one more piece had to fall into place. And that piece came in the form of a phone call from Claire. "Ava," Claire said, her voice shaking, "I found another woman, another victim. She wants to meet you. Her name is Sophie, and Harper Vale tried to do the same thing to her last year. She has proof, real proof. 3 victims, 3 pregnant women, 3 calculated attacks. The pattern was undeniable now. And patterns, as Marissa liked to say, were how you won cases." The coffee shop was quiet on a Wednesday morning. Ava sat in the back corner booth with Claire on one side and Madison on the other. Her hands wrapped around a cup of decaf tea she was not drinking. Sophie Lawrence arrived exactly on time. She was tall and elegant with dark skin and eyes that held the same haunted quality Ava recognized in her own reflection. She carried a manila folder like it contained live ammunition. "Thank you for meeting me," Sophie said, sliding into the booth. "I was not sure I would have the courage to do this." "Thank you for coming forward," Ava replied. "I know it is not easy." Sophie set the folder on the table but did not open it yet. "Last year I was married to Marcus Lawrence. He owns a chain of luxury car dealerships. Harper Vale came into his life as a consultant. Same story you probably heard. She was smart, beautiful, ambitious. I was 6 months pregnant with our first child. I started noticing the signs, the late nights, the distance, the way he looked at his phone." Claire nodded. "The same pattern. Marcus planned a surprise party for my birthday at this beautiful restaurant downtown. Everyone was there, friends, family, his business partners. Harper was there too, of course. She cornered me on the terrace while I was getting air. Said she needed to tell me the truth about my husband, that he did not love me anymore, that I was pathetic for not seeing it. Then she pushed me toward the railing." Ava's breath caught. "Did you fall?" "Almost. I caught myself at the last second, but the intent was clear. She wanted me to fall 3 stories while pregnant. There were cameras on that terrace, clear footage of what happened." Sophie finally opened the folder. "I saved everything, the video, the police report. Marcus's lawyer tried to bury it just like with Claire, but I kept copies." She slid the folder across the table. Inside were photographs, police reports, and a USB drive. "This is the security footage," Sophie said. "I hired a private investigator after Marcus divorced me. He found out Harper has done this at least 5 times in the last 7 years. Always the same pattern. Target a wealthy married man, destroy his pregnant wife, move on to the next victim. 5 times. Madison's voice rose. 5 women? That I could confirm. There might be more. Ava felt sick. How has no one stopped her? Money, Sophie said simply. Harper comes from wealth. Her family has connections. They settle cases quietly. Pay off victims. Threaten legal action if anyone speaks out. I signed a non-disclosure agreement as part of my divorce settlement. Coming here today means I am breaking it. Marcus can sue me for everything I have left. Why risk it? Claire asked. Sophie's eyes hardened. Because I lost my baby 2 months after that night. The doctor said the stress and trauma triggered complications. I delivered at 32 weeks. My daughter lived for 6 hours. Her voice cracked. 6 hours. That was all I got because Harper Vale could not stand to see another woman have what she wanted. The booth fell silent. Even Madison had no words. Sophie wiped her eyes. So yes, I am risking everything to be here because if I can help stop her from doing this to anyone else, it will be worth it. Aviva reached across the table and took Sophie's hand. I am so sorry for your daughter, for what Harper did to you. Do not be sorry. Be angry. Use that anger to destroy her. Over the next hour, the 3 women shared their stories. The details were eerily similar. The targeting, the gaslighting, the calculated violence designed to look like accidents. Harper's pattern was so consistent it felt like a blueprint. She is not random, Claire said. She is methodical. She chooses men with money and wives who are vulnerable, pregnant, isolated, trusting. And she always has an exit strategy, Sophie added. The moment things get complicated, she plays victim, claims she was trying to help, uses her family's lawyers to make the problem disappear. But this time is different, Ava said. This time we have each other. 3 of us, all telling the same story. Madison leaned forward. 3 victims establish a pattern. 3 victims become a criminal case, not a civil dispute. 3 victims are hard to discredit. Sophie pulled out her phone. I have been documenting Harper's social media for months. Every post, every comment, every lie. I have screenshots of her bragging to friends about her conquests. I have messages from women who suspected her but were too scared to come forward. This woman has left a trail of destruction, and I have the receipts. We need to take all of this to the district attorney, Ava said. Today. Already on it, Madison replied, texting Marissa, setting up a meeting now. As they prepared to leave the coffee shop, Sophie stopped Ava. There is one more thing you need to know, something my investigator found. What is it? Harper is not actually pregnant. The ultrasound photo she posted? It is stolen. My investigator traced it to a pregnancy form from 2 months ago. Different woman, different baby. Harper has been faking pregnancies before to trap men. This is just her latest con. Ava felt a rush of vindication. Can you prove it? Already did. The original woman who posted that ultrasound is willing to testify that Harper stole her image. She is furious about it. Madison let out a sharp laugh. Oh, Harper is done. She is so incredibly done. The meeting with District Attorney Patricia Chen happened that afternoon. Daniel, Marissa, and all 3 victims sat across from the DA and 2 detectives. Patricia reviewed the evidence with laser focus. The police reports, the security footage from Sophie's case, the insurance documents, the pattern of behavior spanning 7 years. This is substantial, Patricia said finally. With 3 victims corroborating the same pattern, we have grounds for multiple charges. Against Harper Vale, we are looking at assault, conspiracy to commit assault, fraud regarding the fake pregnancy claim, and potentially attempted murder in Sophie's case given the height of that terrace fall. What about Ethan Miller? Marissa asked. Conspiracy, insurance fraud, aiding and abetting assault, and obstruction of justice for disabling those security cameras. We can make strong cases against both of them. How soon can you file charges? Daniel asked. We are filing today. Arrest warrants will be issued within 24 hours. Patricia's expression was severe. These 2 have been operating like they are above the law for too long. That ends now. As they left the DA's office, Ava felt something strange and unfamiliar. It took her a moment to identify the feeling. Peace. Not happiness, not yet. but the certainty that justice was finally moving in the right direction. That night, Ava allowed herself to imagine a future beyond this nightmare. A future where she and her son were safe, where Harper and Ethan faced consequences, where other women like Claire and Sophie could heal. But she knew better than to celebrate too early. She had learned that lesson. Still, when Madison ordered pizza and they sat around the apartment with Claire and Sophie, sharing stories and laughing at Madison's increasingly creative insults about Harper, Ava felt something shift. She was not alone. She had never been alone. She had just been too hurt to see the community forming around her. "To the most badass pregnant woman I know," Madison said, raising her soda can, "who refused to stay down when powerful people tried to bury her." They all raised their drinks. In that moment, Ava felt invincible. But storms have a way of returning when you least expect them. And the biggest storm was about to hit. The arrest happened at dawn. Did not witness it personally, but the news footage played on every channel by 8 a.m. Police cruisers surrounded Ethan's downtown loft. Officers in tactical gear knocked on his door with a warrant. Cameras captured the moment Ethan was let out in handcuffs, his face pale with shock and rage. He had not expected this. Not. Men like Ethan never did. Harper's arrest was more dramatic. She was staying at an exclusive hotel in Napa Valley, likely hoping to avoid media attention. Instead, she was arrested in the hotel lobby in front of dozens of guests. Someone filmed her screaming that it was a mistake, that she was being persecuted, that she would sue everyone involved. The footage went viral immediately. Ava watched it from Madison's couch with her hands pressed over her belly. The baby kicked strongly, as if sensing his mother's emotions. "They got them," Madison said, her voice filled with satisfied disbelief. "They actually got them." Daniel stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. He had been coordinating with Marissa all morning. When he hung up, his expression was cautiously optimistic. "Bail hearing is this afternoon," he reported. "DA is arguing they are both flight risks. Harper's family has money and international connections. Ethan has offshore accounts." "Will they get bail?" Ava asked. "Possibly, but it will be high, and they'll have restrictions. No contact with you or the other victims. Ankle monitors, travel limitations." Ava wanted to feel victory, but mostly she felt exhausted. What happens now? Now we prepare for trial, both criminal and civil. The criminal case will determine if they go to prison. The civil case will determine damages. How long will all of this take? Daniel's silence was answer enough. Months, maybe years. Ava closed her eyes. Her son would be born into a world where his father was potentially a criminal, where his mother was defined by trauma and court battles. This was not the life she had imagined when she found out she was pregnant. As if sensing her thoughts, Madison sat beside her. "Hey, you are giving this kid the greatest gift possible. You are showing him that when someone hurts you, you fight back. That women do not have to accept abuse silently. That truth matters more than comfort. That is an amazing legacy. I wish I could give him a normal family instead. Normal is overrated. Safe is what matters, and you are making the world safer for him." The bail hearing happened at 3 p.m. Ava attended with Marissa, sitting in the back of the courtroom. This was the first time she would see Ethan since that night at the vineyard. He looked different, smaller somehow. The confidence and control that had always defined him seemed diminished. He wore an orange jumpsuit instead of his designer suits. His hair was messy. His eyes, when they swept the courtroom, were desperate. Those eyes found Ava. For a moment, they just stared at each other across the crowded room. She saw him mouth something. It looked like, "Please." Ava looked away. Harper's entrance was more theatrical. She had somehow managed to do her hair and makeup even in custody. She played to the cameras present in the room, dabbing at tears that might or might not have been real. The judge, an older man with severe features, reviewed the charges and evidence quickly. "The state is requesting high bail and restrictions," he said. "Given the nature of these charges and the evidence presented, I am inclined to agree. Mr. Miller, you are charged with multiple felonies, including insurance fraud and conspiracy. Bail is set at $500,000. Ms. Vale, you are charged with multiple counts of assault and fraud. Bail is set at $300,000. Both defendants will surrender passports, wear monitoring devices, and have no contact with the victims or each other. Violation of any of these terms results in immediate arrest. Ethan's lawyer argued for lower bail. The judge denied it. As the defendants were led away, Harper locked eyes with Ava. The hatred in that gaze was pure and undiluted. Ava met it without flinching. She had nothing left to fear from Harper Vale. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Marissa had prepared a brief statement, which Ava read from her phone with shaking hands. I am grateful that justice is moving forward. I am grateful for the bravery of the other victims who came forward. And I am grateful to live in a country where even powerful people can be held accountable. Thank you. Short, simple, powerful. The questions came fast and overlapping. Ava, how could you feel about your husband being arrested? Will you pursue a divorce? What message do you have for other domestic violence victims? Marissa stepped in. No further questions at this time. Thank you. They pushed through the crowd to Daniel's truck. As they drove away, Ava watched the courthouse recede in the side mirror. It is really happening, she said quietly. This is really happening. Yes, Marissa confirmed. But Ava, I need you to prepare yourself. The trial will be brutal. Their defense attorneys will attack your character. They will try to make you the villain. You need to be ready for that. I am ready. But was she? Could anyone truly be ready to have their entire life dissected in front of strangers? The answer came 2 days later when Ethan's lawyer held a press conference. Richard Hale stood before cameras and painted Ava as an unstable, vindictive woman who had fabricated evidence to destroy her husband's career. He claimed the insurance policy was standard financial planning. He said the disabled security cameras were a technical glitch, not intentional tampering. He even suggested Ava had thrown herself against the counter at the vineyard for attention. The lies were so bold, they took Ava's breath away. Do not respond, Marissa said immediately. Do not engage. We have evidence, we have witnesses, we have the truth. Let them spin whatever fantasy they want. The jury will see through it. But watching herself be slandered on national television was agony. That night, Ava could not sleep. She lay in the dark, feeling her son move inside her, and wondered if this would ever truly end. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. They are going to try to hurt you again. Be careful. Ava's blood ran cold. She showed the message to Daniel immediately. Someone is threatening you, he said, his face grim. We need to tell the police. Or it is just a troll trying to scare me. We do not take chances. Not now. A police report was filed. Security at Madison's apartment building was increased. Daniel started staying in the unit next door, just in case. Ava felt like a prisoner in protective custody. The walls were closing in. 3 days before her due date, Ava woke to contractions. Real ones this time, not false labor. Strong and regular, 5 minutes apart. It is time, she told Madison, her voice calm despite the fear coursing through her. Okay, we are doing this. You are going to meet your baby today. The drive to the hospital was surreal. Every contraction reminded Ava of how close she had come to losing this moment. How Harper's shove could have ended in tragedy. How Ethan's plans could have killed her. But she had survived, and now she was about to become a mother. The labor lasted 14 hours. Madison held one hand, Daniel the other. Marissa sent encouraging texts between court appearances. Claire and Sophie sent flowers. When Ava's son finally entered the world at 3:27 a.m., crying and perfect and alive, something inside her healed. Not everything, not completely, but enough. Hi, baby, she whispered, holding him against her chest. Hi, I am your mom, and I promise, you are going to have a good life, a safe life. I will make sure of it. She named him Liam Daniel Miller. Liam for the light he brought into darkness. Daniel for the man who saved them both. 2 weeks later, fully recovered and with her son sleeping peacefully in a carrier, Ava attended the custody hearing. Ethan had fought for visitation rights despite the criminal charges pending against him. The judge reviewed all evidence. The assault, the insurance policy, the pattern of behavior. The threatening text messages that had been traced back to Harper's phone number. Mr. Miller, the judge said sternly, you are facing serious criminal charges related to conspiracy and endangerment. Until those charges are resolved, I see no reason to grant you unsupervised access to this child. Supervised visitation may be considered after your trial, pending its outcome. But for now, custody remains solely with the mother. Ethan's face crumbled. For the first time, Ava saw real regret there. Too late. Far too late. As she carried Liam out of that courtroom, Ava felt the weight of the past months begin to lift. There was still a trial coming, still battles to fight. But she had her son. She had her freedom. She had the truth on her side, and sometimes that was enough to keep moving forward. 6 months after Liam's birth, the criminal trial finally began. Ava sat in the front row of the courtroom with Liam sleeping peacefully in a carrier beside her. At 7 months old, he was all chubby cheeks and easy smiles, blissfully unaware of the legal battle being waged around him. The prosecution opened with devastating efficiency. They presented the insurance documents, the security footage from Sophie's case, the digital forensics proving Ethan had disabled the vineyard cameras using his admin access, the pattern of Harper's attacks spanning 7 years. Claire, Sophie, and Ava all testified. Each woman told her story with steady voices despite the defense attorneys trying to shake them. The defense strategy was predictable but brutal. They painted the victims as vindictive ex-wives. They suggested the attacks were accidental. They claimed Ethan's insurance policy was normal financial planning and the timing was coincidental. But the evidence told a different story. The turning point came when the prosecution's digital forensic expert testified. He walked the jury through how Ethan had not only disabled the cameras, but had researched life insurance payouts after childbirth complications, 2 days before the vineyard incident. The courtroom went silent. Even Ethan's lawyer had no response for that. When Harper took the stand, she maintained her innocence with impressive conviction. She cried at the right moments. She spoke about feeling persecuted and misunderstood. But then the prosecution introduced evidence that destroyed her performance. Financial records showing Harper had received settlements from 4 previous victims' divorces. Emails where she discussed the game with friends, describing how she targeted wealthy married men. Text messages between her and Ethan planning exactly when and where Ava would be vulnerable. The fake pregnancy claim was the final nail in the coffin. The woman whose ultrasound Harper had stolen testified tearfully about the violation of having her baby's image used for fraud. By the time closing arguments came, the outcome felt inevitable. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Ethan Michael Miller was convicted of conspiracy, insurance fraud, and obstruction of justice. The judge sentenced him to 18 years in federal prison. Harper Vale was convicted of multiple counts of assault, fraud, and conspiracy. She received 12 years. When the verdicts were read, Ava felt something strange. Not joy, not satisfaction, just relief. Pure, exhausting relief. It was finally over. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded her again, but this time Marissa did not rush her away. "Do you want to say something?" Marissa asked quietly. Ava looked at the cameras, at the faces of people who had followed this story from the beginning. She thought about all the other victims out there who had never gotten justice. "I want to say this," Ava began, her voice steady. "What happened to me was not unique. It happens every day to women who are vulnerable, who are trusting, who are pregnant or sick or just trying to survive. And most of the time, those women do not get justice because the systems meant to protect them fail." She adjusted Liam in her arms. He gurgled happily, grabbing at her hair. "I got justice because I had help, because other brave women came forward, because I had resources and support and people who believed me. But not everyone has that. So if you are watching this and you are in a dangerous situation, please know that you deserve help. You deserve safety. You deserve to be believed. And there are people out there who will fight for you even when it feels like the whole world is against you." Her voice cracked slightly. "Do not give up. Keep fighting. You are worth fighting for." Madison stood beside her, crying openly. Daniel nodded with approval. Claire and Sophie, watching from the crowd, smiled through their own tears. The press conference ended, and Ava finally went home, not to a motel or a friend's couch or a temporary shelter. Home, a small apartment she could afford with the settlement money from the civil suit. Nothing fancy, but it was hers. Safe, clean, full of sunlight and baby toys. That night, after Liam was asleep in his crib, Ava stood at the window looking out at the city lights. She thought about the woman she had been a year ago. Naive, trusting, willing to ignore warning signs because she believed in the fantasy of her marriage. That woman was gone. In her place was someone harder but also stronger. Someone who knew what she was capable of surviving. Someone who would never again mistake silence for peace or comfort for safety. Her phone buzzed, a text from Madison. Proud of you does not even begin to cover it. You are a warrior. Liam is lucky to have you. Ava smiled, then she typed a response. We are lucky to have each other. Thank you for never letting me give up. As she set the phone down, Liam made a soft sound from his crib. Ava walked over and looked down at her son. His tiny hand was curled near his face. His breathing was steady and peaceful. Your daddy made terrible choices, Ava whispered. But you are not defined by his mistakes. You are going to grow up knowing that actions have consequences, that women are not disposable, that love does not mean control. And if you ever meet someone who treats others the way your father treated me, you will know exactly what kind of person they are. Liam slept on, innocent and perfect. Ava kissed his forehead gently. We're going to be okay, little one. Better than okay. We're going to be free. The small house in the East Bay had a porch swing and a garden that Ava was still learning to tend. Tomato plants grew in crooked rows. Herbs spilled from terracotta pots. It was not perfect, but it was hers. Liam toddled across the grass, chasing a butterfly with unsteady legs and delighted laughter. At 18 months, he was all curiosity and joy, completely unaware that his father was in prison 200 miles away. Ava watched from the porch, coffee growing cold in her hands. These moments of simple peace still felt surreal sometimes. He is getting fast, Madison said, appearing with her own coffee. She visited every weekend, a constant presence Ava had learned not to take for granted. Too fast. Soon he will be running, and I will never catch him. You will catch him. You always do. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Liam explore. The butterfly landed on a flower, and Liam plopped down to study it with intense focus. Have you thought about what you will tell him? Madison asked. About Ethan? Every day. I think when he is old enough to ask real questions, I will tell him the truth. Age-appropriate but honest. His father made terrible choices that hurt people. That is why we are not a family anymore, and that he is loved in any way, despite where he came from. That is good. He deserves honesty. Ava's phone buzzed, a reminder for a meeting tomorrow. She had started a nonprofit 6 months ago, using her story and settlement money to help domestic violence victims navigate legal systems. It had grown faster than she expected. Now she had 3 volunteers and a waiting list of women who needed help. How is the nonprofit going? Madison asked. Overwhelming in the best way. We helped 2 women file restraining orders this week. One of them said I saved her life. Ava's voice caught. I keep thinking about how different things would have been if someone had helped me earlier, if I had known what to look for, what questions to ask. You are giving other women that knowledge. That is powerful. I just wish I did not have to learn it the hard way first. A car pulled up to the curb. Daniel climbed out, carrying a bag of groceries and wearing his usual black jacket despite the warm weather. Uncle Daniel! Liam shrieked, abandoning the butterfly to run toward him on wobbly legs. Daniel scooped him up easily, grinning. Hey, buddy, did you grow again? I swear you are taller than yesterday. He carried Liam up to the porch and set him down gently. I brought supplies for dinner. An ice cream, which we will not tell your mother about. I heard that, Ava said, but she was smiling. Daniel had become a fixture in their lives. The uncle who showed up for every milestone, who helped fix broken things, who treated Liam like his own grandson. Whatever guilt he carried from his years away had transformed into steadfast dedication. How are the tomatoes doing? He asked, examining her garden with mock seriousness. They are trying their best. That is all any of us can do. Later, after dinner and ice cream and Liam's elaborate bedtime routine, Ava stood at the kitchen sink washing dishes. Through the window, she could see the last light fading from the sky. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost declined it, but something made her answer. Hello? Ava Miller? A young woman's voice, nervous. Yes? My name is Jessica. I saw your story on the news last year. I did not think I needed help back then, but now I think I do. My husband has been getting more controlling. He took out a life insurance policy on me without telling me. I found out by accident, and I am pregnant. I am scared something bad is going to happen, and I do not know who to trust. Ava's heart clenched. She knew that fear intimately. Jessica, you did the right thing by calling. Tell me what is going on. They talked for an hour. Ava took notes, asked questions, and connected Jessica with resources. By the end of the call, Jessica was crying with relief. Thank you, Jessica whispered. I feel less alone now. You are not alone, and you are going to get through this, I promise. After hanging up, Ava stood in her kitchen, feeling the weight of someone else's pain, but also the power of being able to help carry it. Madison appeared in the doorway. Another one? Another one. How many is that this month? 12. 12 women who reached out because they saw themselves in my story. You are making a difference, Ava. I am trying. Some days it feels like trying is all I can do. Trying is everything. That night, after Madison left and Daniel retired to the guest room he occupied more often than his own apartment, Ava checked on Liam one more time. He slept with his arms thrown wide, completely trusting that the world would be kind to him while he was vulnerable. She wanted to protect that trust for as long as possible, while also teaching him that not everyone deserved it. Your mom is learning how to be strong, she whispered. How to help other people be strong too. I hope you are proud of me someday. Liam stirred but did not wake. Ava returned to her own bedroom, the small space that was finally starting to feel like home. On the nightstand sat a framed photo from the courthouse the day of the verdict. She looked exhausted in the image, holding Liam close, but there was something fierce in her expression. She had survived. More than that, she had fought back, and now she was helping others do the same. It was not the life she had planned, not the fairy tale she had believed in when she married Ethan, but it was honest, it was real, and it was hers. For the first time in longer than she could remember, that was enough. 2 years after the trial, Ava received an unexpected letter. It came in a standard prison envelope with Ethan's inmate number printed in the corner. She stared at it for a long time before deciding to open it. The letter was handwritten, his familiar script now shakier than she remembered. Ava, I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it, but I wanted you to know that I understand, Mom, what I did. Prison has given me time to see clearly, maybe for the first time in my life. I was cruel. I was selfish. I valued control more than love, and power more than partnership. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was too broken to appreciate what I had. You deserve better. You deserved everything. And I failed you in every way a husband can fail. I hope you and our son are happy. I hope he grows up to be nothing like me. Ethan. Ava read it twice, then set it aside. She felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, not even pity, just nothing. The letter did not change anything. Words written from a prison cell could not undo the trauma, could not restore what was broken. But maybe they were the first honest thing Ethan had said to her in years. She threw the letter away without responding. That afternoon, she took Liam to the park. He was nearly 3 now, full of opinions and questions and boundless energy. He ran toward the playground, shouting about the swings. Mom, push me! Push me high! Ava pushed him gently, watching his delight as he rose and fell against the blue sky. His laughter was pure and unrestrained. Higher, he demanded. Any higher and you will fly away. I want to fly. Not today, Buddy. I need you to stay with me. Another mother on the neighboring swing looked over and smiled. How old is he? Almost 3. They are so fearless at this age. Mine is 5 and still thinks he is invincible. God help us when they actually become teenagers. They laughed together, 2 mothers sharing the universal exhaustion and joy of raising small humans. On the way home, Liam fell asleep in his car seat. Ava glanced at him in the rearview mirror, his head tilted at an angle that would definitely give him a stiff neck later. Her phone rang. Claire. Hey, Ava answered. How are you? Good, great, actually. I have news. I am pregnant. Ava nearly swerved in surprise. What? That is amazing. Congratulations. It was not planned, but I am happy. Terrified, but happy. And I wanted you to know because if I had not seen you fight back against Harper, I never would have found the courage to try again, to trust someone new, to believe I could have this. Tears blurred Ava's vision. Claire, I am so proud of you. I am proud of us, all of us. We survived something terrible and we are still here, still living, still choosing hope. After they hung up, Ava wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. The world kept turning. Pain faded into memory. New life began even after terrible endings. That evening, Daniel came over for dinner as usual. Liam climbed into his lap immediately, demanding a story about dragons. Dragons again? Daniel asked with mock exasperation. What about nice, gentle bunnies? No, dragons. Okay, dragons it is. Ava watched them from the kitchen, her heart full. This was family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real. Built from survival and choice rather than obligation and expectation. Later, after Liam was asleep and Daniel had gone home, Ava opened her laptop. She had been working on a book for months, telling her story in full detail. Not for profit, though publishers had offered, but because other women needed to hear it, needed to know they were not alone, needed a blueprint for fighting back. She read through the last chapter, the one she had been struggling to finish. The question people ask most often is whether I have forgiven him, whether I have found peace. The answer is complicated. I have not forgiven Ethan for what he did. Forgiveness is not owed to people who harm us deliberately and show no remorse until consequences force reflection. But I have released the hold that anger had on me. I have chosen to build a life defined by what I survived rather than what was done to me. That is not forgiveness, that is freedom. And it is enough. She saved the document, then closed the laptop. Outside her window, the neighborhood was quiet. String lights from neighboring patios created pools of warm glow in the darkness. Someone was barbecuing. A dog barked happily in the distance. Ordinary sounds of ordinary lives. Ava had once believed ordinary was boring. Now she understood ordinary was precious. The ability to sit in a safe home with a sleeping child and plans for tomorrow was something many people never got. She did not take it for granted. Her phone buzzed one more time. A text from Sophie. Heard Claire's news. Drinks next weekend to celebrate? Non-alcoholic for her, obviously. Ava smiled and typed back. Absolutely. Cannot wait. The community of women who had survived Harper Vale's cruelty had become something more than shared trauma. They had become friends, sisters, a network of support that extended beyond their own stories to help others still trapped in dangerous situations. They had turned pain into purpose. And that, Ava thought as she got ready for bed, was the truest form of victory. Not revenge, not even justice, though that mattered too, but the ability to take something meant to destroy you and transform it into something that helps others survive. She checked on Liam one last time. He had kicked off his blanket again. She covered him gently, kissed his forehead, and whispered the same promise she made every night. I will always protect you, always keep you safe, and I will teach you to be kind, but never weak, gentle, but never silent, good, but never naive. You are loved, little one, so incredibly loved. Liam sighed in his sleep, content and safe. Ava returned to her own room, climbed into bed, and turned off the light. Tomorrow she would help another woman escape an abusive marriage. She would answer emails from readers of her blog. She would watch Liam grow. She would live the life she had fought so hard to claim. But tonight she simply rested. The nightmares came less often than now. Most nights she slept peacefully. And when she did dream, she dreamed of the future, of Liam graduating, of weddings and grandchildren, and quiet mornings drinking coffee on a porch swing. She dreamed of ordinary happiness, the kind that could only exist because she had refused to stay silent, refused to give up, refused to let powerful people destroy her. Harper Vale and Ethan Miller were behind bars, their reputations destroyed, their freedom gone. Ava Miller was free, and that was the only ending that mattered.